Welcome back. All right, so we are getting back into the playoff history playlist. And of course, this is playoff history from 99 2000 through until 2020 2021, because that fits nicely on the board. If I was doing the entire playoff history of the Chicago Blackhawks, we'd be here a while. So the interesting thing with Chicago is that we can look at the fact that they won 3 cups between 2010 and 2015 and say this is a team that found what they needed to for success, and they've been a great successful franchise with guys like Taves and Kane and Crawford and net. But it was a long time between Stanley Cups. And what's interesting is I did the year-by-year history of the NHL, right? That was, I think, 3 years ago now. And in the year-by-year history of the league, you get a sense for how many cups Chicago should have won, how many cups Chicago could have won that they didn't, and how many times they got close, or they had a team that on paper looked like it was going to win, and they didn't. So by the time we reach 99 2000, this is a team that's having a lot of problems. And of course, Bill Wirtz played a role in that as well. Not wanting the team to be on TV. You want to watch the team? Then come down and buy tickets to the game. Which, as crazy as that may sound to those of us now, really, that wasn't something that was completely unheard of in ownership circles. It's just he wasn't quite as progressive when it comes to ideas about how the business model works. His idea was, I want them to buy tickets, so I get the money from the ticket sales. TV, he didn't see it as being as lucrative. But 99 2000, they were 33, 37, 10, and 2. No playoffs. Tony Amonte is the leading scorer in 82 games, 43 goals, 41 assists, 84 points. Tony Amonte had a very good run with Chicago. 2000 2001, the team misses the playoffs again. They finished 29, 40, 8, and 5. And Steve Sullivan's their leading scorer, 81 games, 34 goals, 41 assists, 75 points, to the endless complaints of Don Cherry for Toronto not keeping Steve Sullivan. So every time he would get a goal for Chicago or have a really nice assist, it was on Coach's Corner. And it's a shame that Toronto didn't keep him. 2001, 2002, the team turns it around on the ice, 41, 27, 13, and 1. But in the first round, they get knocked out by St. Louis. So they lose that series 4-1. Eric Daze is their leading scorer, 82 games, 38 goals, 32 assists, 70 points. 5 games in the playoffs for Daze, no points for him there. It's the only time Daze shows up on the board, but if you had a copy of NHL 2004 for the PC, Daze was your leading scorer basically every year. His goals, you would think he scores 60 goals a year, and Daze was a very talented goal scorer, certainly, but man, EA just loved him. 2002-2003, the team falls back out of the playoffs with a record of 30, 33, 13, and 6. Sullivan's the leading scorer again, 82 games, 26 goals, 35 assists for 61 points. So this is where, again, they've made the playoffs 1 year out of 4, and it's just kind of, the team's meandering until 2003-2004, they finished 20, 43, 11, and 8. Obviously no playoffs with a record like that. Tyler Arneson is their leading scorer, 82 games, 22 goals, 33 assists, 55 points. But they're going to draft themselves a Taves, they're going to draft themselves a Kane, and all of a sudden things are going to get better. Not yet, though. So after the lockout destroys the 04-05 season, we go on to 05-06. 26, 43, and 13 is the overall record for Chicago. So it's not getting better yet. No playoffs. Kyle Calder is their leading scorer, 79 games, 26 goals, 33 assists, 59 points. But again, you start to get a feeling around this time that Chicago's got a plan, and that there's definitely some building going on here. Their record gets a bit better in 2006-2007. They finished 31, 42, and 9. Still no playoffs. Martin Havlat's their leading scorer in 56 games, 25 goals, 32 assists, 57 points. So the leading scorer is a player who only played 56 games. Scoring's a problem, not for long. 2007-2008. They don't make the playoffs, but the excitement around Chicago is real in 2007-2008. They finished 40, 34, and 8. And you can see that this is a team that's going to do something special at some point. Kane's their leading scorer that year, 82 games, 21 goals, 51 assists, 72 points. So the 08-09 season is where they finally break through and they get back into the playoffs for the first time since 2002. They finished 46, 24, and 12. In the first round, they beat Calgary in 6. Second round, they beat Vancouver, also in 6. And then in the conference final, they lose against Detroit in 5. The Detroit Red Wings on their way to their last Stanley Cup final. And so this is kind of their last chance to beat the Chicago Blackhawks. They don't show up on the rest of the board as having beaten them at all. Havlat's the leading scorer again, 81 games, 29 goals, 48 assists, 77 points. In the playoffs, 16 games, 5 goals, 10 assists for 15 points. We will not see Havlat again on the board after that. 2009-2010, this is where they become kind of fantastic. 52, 22, and 8. In the first round, they beat Nashville in 6. In the second round, they beat Vancouver in 6. In the conference final, they sweep San Jose. And then in the Stanley Cup final, they beat Philadelphia in 6. And the game-winning goal in the last game scored by Kane. Kane was the only one that knew it had gone in the net. He's also the leading scorer for the Cup winners. 82 games, 30 goals, 58 assists, 88 points. In 22 playoff games, 10 goals, 18 assists, 28 points for Patrick Kane. So 2010-2011 arrives. Now what happens to Chicago is in between 2010 and 2011, there's some contract issues, and the salary cap really bites them as a result. So some mismanagement stuff going on, and they end up losing some players. And in 2011, they barely make the playoffs. They finish 44, 29, and 9. And in the first round, they go down 3-0 against Vancouver. Then Rafi Torres wakes up the Hawks. Boland returned from injury, and the Canucks forgot that he was out there because he was just tearing them apart. And it looked like Chicago was going to complete the huge comeback. And this was a year after I'd watched Philadelphia do that to Boston, where they were down 3-0, and Boston lost 4 in a row. And I felt like, okay, Vancouver is going to lose 4 in a row, aren't they? So we go to overtime in Game 7. Vancouver does knock out Chicago. And if Chicago had overcome Vancouver in that round, who knows, right? And that's a great unknown. Chicago may very well have won a cup in 2011 as well. Taves, the leading scorer that year in 80 games, 32 goals, 44 assists, 76 points. In 7 playoff games, 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points. 2011-2012, they finished 45, 26, and 11. They lose in the first round against Arizona that year in 6. Marian Hossa's the leading scorer, 81 games, 29 goals, 48 assists, 77 points, and 3 playoff games, no points. So this is where it's interesting. Chicago wins the cup here. They're out in the first round both of the following 2 seasons. So is Chicago that good? Or did they peak? Is that one cup? Is that it? That's the kind of conversation you're going to have, right? 2012-2013, a lockout-shortened season. Chicago made quick work of this season. First off, they finished 36, 7, and 5. Probably the best roster they ever had. They beat Minnesota in 5 in the first round. A thrilling second round against Detroit. They win it in 7. Then they beat LA in the conference finals. And LA, of course, was the defending Stanley Cup champion from 2012. And then they go to the final and they beat Boston in 6. So Boston's done. And Chicago's got their second Stanley Cup. Kane's the leading scorer in 47 games. 23 goals, 32 assists, 55 points. In the playoffs, 23 games, 9 goals, 10 assists, 19 points. 2013-2014, their record, very good, 46, 21, and 15. First round of the playoffs, they beat St. Louis in 6. Second round, they beat Minnesota in 6. I'd like to apologize to Minnesota fans because, yeah, this is a storyline at this point, right? Although I did the Minnesota history video already, so you guys know the story. Then in the conference final, in what was an absolutely fantastic conference final, they lose to the Kings in 7. And that was seen as like being better than the Stanley Cup in 2014 by many fans. I'll kind of agree with that. Yeah, I think that series between LA and Chicago was absolutely fantastic and probably the best series of the playoffs. So Patrick Sharp's the leading scorer that year, 82 games, 34 goals, 44 assists, 78 points. In the playoffs, 19 games, just 5 goals and 5 assists, but, you know, it was a nice long run for Chicago. So, yeah, that's not bad. 2014-2015, they finished 48, 28, and 6. And in the playoffs, they knock out Nashville in 6 in the first round. They swept Minnesota in the second round. And then in the conference final, it's a thriller again. And that might be your best series of the playoffs again between Chicago and Anaheim. And Chicago wins that knockdown, drag-out fight in 7. And then in the Stanley Cup final, they knocked out Tampa Bay in 6. And what was a great final. That final was fantastic. Jonathan Toews, the leading scorer that year for Chicago, 81 games, 28 goals, 38 assists, 66 points. In the playoffs, 23 games, 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points. So that's 3 Stanley Cups over a 6-year period. And then 2015-2016, they finished 47, 26, and 9, a very similar record to the year before. But in the first round, St. Louis takes them out in 7. So that was a surprise. And yeah, Patrick Kane had a really good year. 82 games, 46 goals, 60 assists, 106 points to lead the team in scoring. But in the playoffs, he records 1 goal with 6 assists for 7 points in 7 games. That's as close to controlling Kane as you're normally going to get. Then in 2016-2017, they finished with 50 wins for the first time since 2010, where they won the Cup. They go 50, 23, and 9, and in the first round, they're against Nashville. Nashville sweeps Chicago. And this was kind of the harbinger of what was to come. Kane, 82 games, 34 goals, 55 assists, 89 points. He's their leading scorer. In the playoffs, he records 1 goal, 1 assist in 4 games. But it definitely was a harbinger of things to come. 2017-2018, they finished 33, 39, and 10. No playoffs. So they're out. Kane's the leading scorer again, 82 games, 27 goals, 49 assists, 76 points, which is low for Kane. So he bounces back in 2018-2019. The team finishes above 500 just by the 2 games. 36, 34, and 12, but no playoffs. Kane's the leading scorer, 81 games, 44 goals, 66 assists, 110 points. Arguably Kane's best season in his career. 2019-2020, they finished 32, 30, and 8. But we had an expanded playoffs. Chicago wasn't going to be in the playoffs. They were the 12th seeded team in the West. But because of the return to play, welcoming teams that were below the playoff line because they didn't finish the season, and because you get extra teams, you get extra eyeballs on the games, that kind of thing. But in the qualifying round, they knock out Edmonton in an upset in 4 games, 3 games to 1. And then in the first round of the playoffs, they lose in 5 against the Vegas Golden Knights, where Crawford did everything he could, but there's limits. Kane's the leading scorer in 70 games, 33 goals, 51 assists, 84 points. In 9 playoff games, he has 2 goals and 7 assists. The season we just finished, 2020-2021, they finished 24, 25, and 7. Chicago was very good throughout the first half of the season, but then they had to play the tougher teams in the division, and that's where they suffered their fall. So, no playoffs for them this past year, but Kane, again, great year. He had awesome chemistry with DeBrincat. 56 games, 15 goals, 51 assists, 66 points. The expectation now is that Chicago, with changes they've made in this offseason, with adding Fleury and adding Seth Jones, that they should be back in the playoffs. And we'll see if that's the case. In terms of all-time scorers in the playoffs, Stan Mikita is still the all-time leader. 155 games, 59 goals, 91 assists, 150 points. Denny Savard's actually number 2. 131 games, 61 goals, 84 assists, 145 points, which is remarkable because Chicago, while he was there, didn't go on a Stanley Cup final run at all. So Savard was on some teams that went on decent runs. He was definitely a big part of it, just they never got over that hump. Patrick Kane, 136 games played, 52 goals, 80 assists, 132 points. He is 18 points short of Stan Mikita's record for most points in the playoffs for a Chicago Blackhawks player. I'm not sure whether or not he necessarily gets there. It's going to depend on this team being able to get into the playoffs. They get in, Kane's going to produce, right? Bobby Hull, 116 games played in Chicago in the playoffs, 62 goals, 67 assists for 129 points. And then Jonathan Toews is 5th on the list in 137 games, 45 goals, 74 assists, 119 points. But you can see the split between these Stanley Cups. 1934, 1938, and then 1961. And throughout the 60s, they had numerous times where it looked like they should win a cup and they didn't. Then 2010 arrives, and they finally win their first cup in almost 50 years. And then, of course, 2013 and 2015. But it was a long time in between for long-suffering Chicago fans. And I don't know if Kane's going to get that 4th ring. He definitely has the competitive spirit for that. And we'll see what happens. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.